I'm JS Tech Lead, and on my channel you will find really useful information without order. So let's get started. So we have 100 plus VS Code extensions. So I split all of the extensions on some topics. So the first topic, this is markup development. And we have a lot of extension regarding the markup development. So the first extension, this is outer name tag. So I will speak the shortly, but the most useful that you need. So when you are using outer name tag, it automatically renames whatever tag you selected. This works for HTML, for XML, and for JSX tags. Okay, so the next extension, this is color highlight. Really useful extension. So when you write in some hex color, HSL, RGBA color, it will highlight with border this corresponding color. Okay, so the next extension, this is style lint. If you are using a lot of styles in your projects, you need to have some rules that should be ordered. So with this style lint with VS Code, you can order your rules and have a more flexible and scalable code base. The next extension, this is CSS pick. So with this extension, you can click on some corresponding class in your HTML, and by clicking on this class, you will see on GIF, it will redirect you to some specific file, CSS SAS, in your code base. So okay, the next extension, this is tailwind. So if you are using classes with tailwind, it will have nice autocomplete for the tailwind styles. Another extension I want to share with you, this is styled component snippet. So if you are using styled components, especially in React, it will highlight these style components with template strings. Another extension, this is open in browser. So if you have some HTML file and you need to open it directly in browser, you just right click on this specific file and you will see in the context menu you have new item open in default browser. So I used it a lot of times and it helps me. Okay, so the last extension, this is highlight matching tag. So when you click on some open tag, the closed tag will be highlighted. Okay, let's move forward. The next section is related to the collaboration. If you want to share your code and you have pair programming, you can use live share extension pack. It shares all of your code bases, all of your processes, ports, and audio. Really useful for pair programming, and you can like write at once in the same code base and you can see the cursor of each other. So cool extension. Another extension for sharing only the ports, your local ports, this is ngLog and live preview. And also you have remote explorer. So these extensions are similar, but they have different functionality. So I suggest you to check each of these extensions and select whatever you want based on your requirements. The next extension, this is code tour. So if you have newcomer in your company and you want to discuss with him and help him to understand the big code base, you can write code tour files. So you can create these tours and select some correspondent and important files and write some specific documentations based on the functionality. And when newcomer installs this extension, he can walk with this tour, and he can walk by these breakpoints and understand code faster. The next two extensions are Discord presence and chat. So if you have some channel for your team like Slack or Discord, you can integrate this communication channel with the VS Code. Okay, so the next topic is productivity. So the first extension, this is code spell checker. So what it does, if you have some spells in your code, you can enable this extension and it will show you what are your typos and you can fix these typos in your code. The next extension, this is better comments. So as you see here on this screenshot, you can write some comments with the specific marks on the start of this comment with the exclamation mark, with the to do, with the star, with the param, and these comments will be highlighted in different color. So really useful and really readable for big code base. Okay, so the next extension, this is Identicator. So it allows you to detect in what code block you are, and it will highlight the vertical line of the block. Another great extension, this is inline bookmarks and bookmarks. So if you want to have some bookmarks in your code for some special, most complicated or interesting places, you can add bookmark using these extensions. So check this one, really recommended. Another extension, this is sort line. So it allows you to sort lines in files you work with. So this is really useful for the machine learning engineers and data science engineers when you're working with raw data. And the next extension, this is to do 3. So you can write in a lot of files to do's, and you have on your left bar to do 3 icon, and you can go over these to do's and fix these to do's or delete them. So really useful for productivity. And the last extension I want to share with you, this is local history. So when you are working on a lot of files and you didn't commit your changes, you can have local history which will auto save all of your changes once per hour, once per 50 minutes. You can change this time. So this is useful, and you can go back and forward in your history. Okay, so let's move forward. And the next section is Git. So the first extension, this is Git history. Really useful extension for checking the commits, history of these commits, for checking Git blame. And the next extension, this is GitHub linker. So you can select some piece of your code and create link for this code. And this link will be shareable. The next extension, this is GitHub repositories. So there are a lot of features in this extension, but the most interesting one, that you can open remote repositories and work with remote repositories, fork them, create merge requests, and yeah, this is the most interesting part. Another extension, this is Git Lens. So with Git Lens you can work a lot with the GitHub. You can see some statistics in visual way, some graphs, some visual file history view, and a lot of useful stuff. Git blames, code lens. Yeah, so this is must-have extension. Okay, so another extension, this is source graph. So with this source graph extension, you can search over the all open sources projects in the GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. So for example, you want to find some interesting function, and you can search over this code base and find this. Another great extension, this is GitHub pull request and issues. So if you want to manage the pull request within your VS Code, you can install this extension and check what pull requests are assigned to you, what threads are resolved, what are discussions in some pull request. Similar extension, this is GitLab workflow. And the last two extensions, so we have open in GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. This is extension, so you can right click on some file content and you will see the new item in the context menu open in GitHub directly, and it will open this link. Another extension, this is Git graph. So as I remember, the Git lens has similar functionality for the graphs, but this functionality is payable. But with Git graph you can check the graph for your branches. Yeah, super useful. Okay, let's move forward. We have AI extensions. So the most interesting one, this is GitHub Copilot, but this is paid extension. So with GitHub Copilot, you can write code by your own words. So for example, you can type into your code editor, please write the bound function, but without the please. And it will search over the all open sources and it will give you the most relevant result for the debounce function. And other extensions, IntelliCode API usages, and Tab9, there are extensions that works like autocomplete extensions. So if you write in some function, so it auto suggests you the most relevant autocompletes. So check this one and select the best extension for you. Okay, so we have the next topic. This is related to the containers. So we have dev containers, Docker, Docker Explorer, Kubernetes, and remote development pack. So most of these extensions are related to the Docker. And if you are working with Docker a lot, these extensions can reduce the times. You can work easily with the containers. You can start, stop them, restart them. You can check the processes inside the container. And also you can work with Kubernetes. But for Kubernetes, it has not enough functionality for all usage of the Kubernetes. But these extensions are really useful. And the remote development pack, if you want to develop remotely on some servers, and for example you do not have Git, you can have this extension pack for remote development via SSH or FTP. Okay, so we have API management section. So for now we have two most popular APIs. So the first one, this is REST, the second is Apollo. Sorry, the second is GraphQL. So with GraphQL, we can have these three extensions for the syntax highlight, language feature supports, and then light operation execution. And for Apollo after completion, you have Apollo GraphQL. So it reads your Apollo config and it reads your schema. And when you're writing some queries and mutations, it auto completes all of the queries and mutations. So really useful. Another extension, this is REST client. So with REST client, you can create simple HTTP files, and with these files, you can write these small commands, and you can test your API. So the best for this extension is that you can create your HTTP files, commit these files, and share these files between your team, and your team can test also the REST API endpoints, and you don't need to use something like Insomnia or Swagger or whatever. Okay, let's move it forward. So if you like this video, so please click like and subscribe, and you will see the new video. The next section, this related to the project infrastructure. So we have .env, YAML, and Better Tom extensions for the environment variables management. For the YAML file support, they're used in most of the cases in GitHub, GitLab workflows, in the CI pipelines, and TOML also used in the CI and workflows. The next extension, this is Draw.io. With Draw.io extension, you can create really interesting charts and directly in the VS Code. So you can create blocks, create connection between these blocks, create schemas, and share these schemas with your team. Okay, so the next extension, this is file size. Simple extension which shows the file size, especially useful for the front-end engineers. Another extension, this is Makefile tool. So you can create scripts with Make program. We have also Markdown lint extension. So this is syntax highlight for the Markdown lint. We have Rainbow brackets extension. So this extension works for highlighting your brackets. This is really useful if you're a Lisp programmer. Another extension with the similar functionalities in Draw.io, this is ARM template viewer, so you can create these schemas, these charts. The next extension, this is regex previewer, so you can create your own regex and test this regex with this extension. Okay, let's move forward, and we have the next extension for the project infrastructure. So we have Rainbow CSV highlight. We have zip file explorer. If you have in your project some zip archives and you need to manage this zip archive system. We have editor config for VS Code. Useful extension for setup and will it be end of the file, how many tabs, what are you using tabs or spaces, how many spaces you are using, and so on. We have past JSON as code extension, really useful extension. So if you have JSON and you need to create corresponding data structure in your corresponding language, in the Python, TypeScript, Rust, Kotlin, C++, Flow. Another great extension, this is Pass IntelliSense. This is autocomplete for your file names. Another great extension, this is Code Runner. So with this is, I think, even over 60 million downloads. This is the most downloaded extension, as I remember. So with this extension you can run, doesn't matter whatever language you are using, and you need to set up the corresponding language in your system, and this is extension, this is like a bridge between your language which you installed and the VS Code, and you can run directly all of the files inside VS Code, so really useful. The next extension, this is partial diff. So if you want to detect copy paste in your code, you need to select this part of your code and search this code over your code base, and you will see the differences in your code base, that you have similar code. The next extension, this is plant UML. So this is for creating UML diagrams in your code, or use case diagrams. The next extension, this is SonarLint. So it's code smell detector. Useful for many languages, C++, Java, JavaScript, PHP, Python. You can create your own rule set using SonarLint file, or you can use like auto detection. Let me close all of these extensions and we will continue. Okay, so the next section I want to discuss with you, this is language specific extension. So I am not sharing the extensions for the Python, for the Golang, for the .NET, but I am sharing with you algorithm how you can search these extensions. So you need to first search language syntax extension directly, Golang, Python. Another thing, you can search language related extension for the snippets. It will fast your code writing. And you can search language autocomplete extensions, language related performance extensions, which shows you how many size will the correspondent package have, or how you can optimize this code with Golang, with Python, with C++. Maybe you can have some visualization extensions. So for example, as I know in the Solidity code, you can create with some extension visualization diagrams. So you need to have categories for your language, what you need for the packages, for the syntax highlight, for the snippets, for the visualizations, and you need to search by these categories, by this what you are exactly using in your project. If, for example, you have Python project and it's related to the charts, you need to search charts extension. So this is the logic, how you need to search language specific extensions. Okay, let's move forward. Let's speak about the front end. So with the front end, we have the next extension. This is Babel for the syntax support of the latest features of the JavaScript. We have error lens also. So with error lens, you can have warnings, you can have errors in your code, and you can fix them easily. The next extension, this is React, Redux, React Native snippets. Useful for React guys. Next extension, this related for the ESLint. So it will show the errors based on your ESLint configuration. Another extension, this is MTX. Important for the content management systems. So you can write your JSX but in MDX files. And the next extension, this is npm IntelliSense. So it auto completes all of your node modules. Preter, this is useful code formatting extension. Kvoka.js, if you want to write some code from scratch, and this is code should be only in one file, you need to use definitely this Kvoka.js extension, and it will show you on what line will be error, what lines run successfully, what lines are not running, and what will be logged in the result. So it's like Notepad for the JavaScript. Frontend part 2. So search node modules. So it will add to the context menu search command. And if you want to search over your node modules and do not want to index these node modules in this project, you need to use this extension. Version length. Really useful extension for updating version for your packages. So inside package.json, when you click on letter V, you see the latest versions and your current versions. You have correspondent extensions for the Angular, for the service snippets, for the Vue, also, and import cost. Import cost is used for detecting how many kilobytes or megabytes each package have. So you see here. The next two extensions are related to the tests, Jest and Wallaby.js. So the most interesting one, this is Wallaby.js, but it has payable functionality. But for the big projects, it will simplify the tests for you. And the last extensions, this is Turbo Console Log. So it has some useful snippets and you can write console logs and debug your code easily. Okay, what's about databases? So we have MySQL and SQL tools extensions. So these extensions have many similar things, but also SQL tools have more things related to the SQL. But MySQL can manage not only SQL, but MariaDB, Postgres, SQLite, Redis, and Elasticsearch. So really useful. Another great extension, this is Prisma. So if you know what's Prisma, with Prisma you can write database agnostic configuration using Prisma files and Prisma ORM. So this helps you to write Prisma files. The next extension, this is Sanity.io. If you know what are the headless CMS, so this is useful for the dynamic content of your system. So one of these extensions are Sanity. The next extension, this is Firebase, for Firebase management, for the security rules management, for the databases. The next section is related to the security. So we have sneak security and dependency analysis. So it will check over your project. If you have some secrets directly in your project, it will show the error. If you have some dependencies that have potentially errors, It will scan your project on some vulnerabilities based on their severity. And the last I want to share with you, this is, I don't think they can be useful for you, but uh, you can use them in the project specific infrastructure. So the first one, this is Dracula theme. If you used WebStorm before, you can import the Dracula theme here. The next extension is related to Material UI icon theme and also good icons for your project. The third extension, this is Code Metrics. If you want to understand what is complexity of your code based on big annotation, you can check this, and this extension shows you can this code be simplified. The next extension, this is Excel Viewer, so views your Excel files. Polar Code extension, with this extension you can create your cool images for your code. The next extension, this is shader languages support for VS Code. So if you're working with shaders and you're a cool 3GS developer, you can definitely use this extension. And the next extension, the last one, this is Resource Monitor. You can understand how many memory your VS Code consumes and can it be efficient. So because I presented to you more than 100 extensions, and this is not efficient to have all of these extensions running simultaneously. So with this extension you can check what you need, what can be switched off, and what can be optimized. So this is all from my side. Thank you for watching this video, and if you want to watch new one video, please click like and subscribe, and I will create a new one. Thanks.